No matter where we are or how difficult things may seem, leveraging nothing but gratitude, we can find our way to the center of calmness. Good evening, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Center of Calmness. And we are super blessed tonight to have Jennifer Garman with us today. Welcome, Jennifer.
Hi, DK. Thanks so much for having me.
Thanks for joining us. How are things with you? I understand you're calling in from Leesburg. How is the situation there right now?
Leesburg, Virginia is pretty calm right now. The COVID situation's under control and school's back in, although it's distance learning, but can't complain. Everything's getting back into a routine here.
Yeah, we have our own challenges with the back to school, but I think here in Houston, we're at about 25% in most schools. And there's still a bit of remote meeting going on, but at least signs of life, right? Maybe we're on our way back toward something closer to normal. So it's super glad that we're finding a bit more calmness out there.
That's great to hear. I hope the same.
So I was really excited to hear about your approach methodology of gratitude as a way if you, as you put it, to heal yourself and to really move into a much brighter place in your life. I wondered if you might just start us out with kind of where things were and how you found your path with gratitude.
Yeah, absolutely. So take you back about over a decade now. I was juggling a lot. I had three very small children. I had a job. I had a lot on my plate. And instead of taking things off my plate and trying to stay more balanced, I kept adding things to it. And I got to what I call the straw that broke the camel's back. I'm not sure exactly what it was, but my health just fell off a cliff overnight. And it started with absolute complete insomnia where I literally watched every minute of the clock pass for 3 days before I went to the doctor and said, I need to sleep. And I thought it was just, this bizarre thing that would clear up in a week. And that was just the first symptom that turned into food intolerances and allergies and bizarre things. And just about every autoimmune disease you can name, I had all the symptoms of. And I would go to doctors and specialists, and they all thought they knew the answer. And the protocol they put me on really didn't do anything. And it was about 7 years of spinning my wheels, a little over 7 years. And I just said, enough is enough. I'm not terminal as far as I know. I'm just going to have to move on with my life as best I can. And I decided to start studying for my life coaching certification. And I came across the notion of gratitude, and that the happiest people are grateful people. And it's such a powerful emotion to bring into your life. And I said, you know what? I have nothing to lose. Let's start, practicing gratitude. And I also studied neuroplasticity, and I was mirroring the neuroplasticity techniques, but I rooted it in the emotion of gratitude. And my life just started to change for the better. My energy levels went up, my sleep improved, my symptoms started to go away. And I thought, there might be something to this. So that's when I really dove into the research, and all of everything I was reading said that, this is very typical. If you practice gratitude and you concentrate on what you do have and the positive, you just reinforce that, and more of that comes into your life. And that's exactly what I was seeing. And it was fascinating. And I knew that my trajectory in life was now going to be about sharing my story and the power of an emotion like gratitude with as many people as I could. And that's been ever since.
That's thoroughly awesome. So, if I could ask, how did you come across a gratitude solution? I mean, you mentioned you went through essentially a 7 year failure cycle, right? Dealing with
Yes.
highly qualified experts, and I mean, I don't want to disparage them in any way. I'm sure they were trying everything they could. But how did you decide to make the shift, and how did you actually find gratitude as one of? I mean, there's hundreds of solutions, right? How did you end up on that particular one?
Yeah, well, it's the thing that kept coming up over and over. And I say that, it hit me, it resonated with me in the right way that I knew I had to give it a shot. And I don't think it was a fluke. I think that it came to me at the right time when I needed it the most. I was just about giving up hope that I was ever going to get better. And, I just had kind of acquiesced to the fact that this may be my life from here on out. So I really did, and I was focused more on the negative when I was going to see the doctors, and I was, scrutinizing my symptoms and, talking about all the bad things, and I wasn't concentrating on all the good that I had in my life. So that the complete shift that I did when I brought gratitude in was all the negative thoughts went out, and all the shift happened that I was bringing all the positive into my forefront, my thoughts, and the monumental transformation really takes place, is that shift in paradigm from the negative to the positive.
Absolutely. That mindset shift is so powerful, right? And then you're activating your mind toward the solution you're trying to work for, as opposed to fighting against it the whole time, right? Now, when
Yes.
you mentioned you got into the practice of gratitude, if you could detail maybe the types of techniques, or how did you apply gratitude to your situation to drive such a dramatic improvement?
Yeah, so I would take literally hours of my day where I would concentrate, and I would bring a feeling of complete joy with gratitude in, like, a time where I just felt absolute just awe of what was going on, and I was so grateful for it. And I would feel it to the point where I would get goosebumps. And I would just bring that, I would try and bring all my senses in and remember that moment to the best of my ability. And I project that whole feeling forward into the future of what I wanted my life to look like, and all while being grateful for what the future and what I saw happening. And that's when the real shift and the transformation took place.
That's really neat. So a visualization of a future state, and then the gratitude applied to it. That's a very powerful combination. That's
Yes,
awesome.
very much so.
Yeah. And then I wanted to ask also about, you mentioned the neuroplasticity and all the research that you did to kind of develop and back up the science behind this shift you were making. What did you learn about neuroplasticity that you were able to apply to this gratitude technique that you were working with?
Yeah, so the premise of neuroplasticity is, the cells that wire together fire together. And so what you want to do is you want to reinforce that positive, and you want to basically etch that into your brain. So you're creating new neural pathways by what your thoughts are, what you're doing. Another thing that I brought in that's a neuroplasticity technique is learn something new right after you practice these techniques. So I'd feel this, emotion of gratitude. I'd bring it into my body to the point where I was feeling the symptoms of the goosebumps and everything that go with it. I'd project that into the future, and then I would go juggle, or I go sit down at the piano and I'd learn a new piece, and that would further etch it into your brain. When you combine those two things together, it just deep root seeds it in even quicker. So those are some neuroplasticity techniques that I brought in.
That's awesome. And how long did it take you to learn enough to be able to put this technique together and make it work for you?
Well, honestly, the first week I started doing this, I saw unbelievable results. And after about a month of practicing this, like, my symptoms were pretty much gone. I didn't have any hope that they would stay gone, but I was excited enough that they were gone for the time being. And I was lucky enough that they truly were gone for good. So it's been over 3 years now, and they've been, I've had some flare-ups here and there with like little things, but I can't complain at all because everybody goes through stuff. But I can get it back down pretty quick.
That is awesome. So you're, as I understand it, then a week out from applying this technique, I would assume with some serious diligence and for hours a day, as you mentioned, you're talking about moving from insomnia to having a regular sleep pattern, from these other body type disorders just disappearing. That's awesome.
Yes. And I'm talking like I don't use an alarm clock. I don't use caffeine now. I wake up with just like massive amounts of energy that carries me through, like, until the evening hours. And I crash and burn pretty hard around 11 o'clock, but
Right.
I have a full day from about 5 or 6 till 11 at night.
Oh, that's huge, right? And such a
Yeah.
fuller life than having to defend against it before, right? Where you're
A
spending almost
complete
all the time.
180. Yeah.
Yeah, that's completely awesome. Um, and so from there, I'm just curious, is this a technique that you're transferring to others?
Yes. So what I'm doing now is I started a company called gratitudemission.org, and I decided I was going to take a product to market that was going to teach people to bring gratitude into their lives. And I created a product called the Growing Gratitude Tree. And it's a vinyl wall decal. It goes on your wall, and you add leaves to the tree, which are things that you write what you're grateful for on. So as you add these, gratitudes to your tree each day, it becomes a visual reminder that you hopefully will pass by and recognize several times a day. And it shifts you back into the mindset of all that you do have versus the negative mindset of concentrating on what you don't.
So is the gratitude tree something that an individual applies to their own experience, or is it something that a family might use or a group? I noticed on your website, I think there was a school involved, right, with one of the applications of the tree.
Yes, so schools have gotten it, families have gotten it, individuals. I've heard stories of now individuals that get it, like family members, and they each have one, and they get on Zoom calls or FaceTime calls together, and they share with each other what they've added to their tree. So it's really kind of an infinite possibilities of, who can use it and benefit from it. But it's that visual reminder and that, that shift back into what you do have, that you need to make a habit. And everyone has been told that, 21 to 30 days to form a habit. And it's true. You need to really ingrain this in for a good 21 to 30 days to make it stick and to be able to shift back into that easily.
That is super cool. And do you offer training with that toward like, for example, the neuroplasticity elements or those deeper techniques? I mean, just having a tree is probably not enough in and of itself, although I'm sure it's enough to spark the thinking toward positivity and to begin producing the shift. But do you find that folks that use the tree achieve the same level of results that you personally got as you went deeply into this practice?
Well, the tree is just a start. So the tree kind of enforces it and kind of brings it in as a habit. But I actually wrote a book that published in April. The name of the book is Flourish: 7 Ways Gratitude Can Transform Your Life. And in the book, I go into each of the areas where gratitude can have a profound difference in your life, like your self-worth, connection to other people, both your physical, your mental health, anywhere up to your abundance and happiness and joy. And it can bring all these things and turn the tables on what's going on right now in your life. And that's where I really get into the depth of the techniques that I use and how I did them, and kind of, mindfulness practices that go with it, along with all the research that I accumulated along the way as well.
Oh, that's all included in the book. I need to go get a copy of this myself. That's awesome. Yeah. How has the book been doing? Have folks been taking it up, and what kind of stories are you hearing after they read it?
Yeah, you know what? I am just so humbled by this. I was telling my daughter, I just had another review that showed up today, and I have no idea who this person is, but like they just had the kindest words to say about how my book affected their life. And I was just like, every time I read something like that, I'm just like, I just have to take a step back and say, wow, I'm helping people. And that's really what I've always wanted to do since I started this whole mission.
That's super huge. I mean, you can't imagine the number of books out there that are perhaps purchased and just left on the shelf, or folks read just a few pages, and then they get a little bit of inspiration, they get a little bit of a boost in their life, but then they go back to their old habits, which, like you said, if you don't take the dedicated, diligent 21 to 30 day approach to develop the gratitude habit, you won't get any benefit. But to hear that your readers have taken up your book and taken up its message, that's super awesome.
Yes, I'm very humbled and honored.
That's great. So, what are your plans from here now that you've got your book launched and a product out? Or do you have additional growth plans or speaking opportunities? Where do you go from here on this?
Yeah, so I've been doing some speaking, which I really love. But what I'm really trying to piece together is a video class where I walk people through the techniques that I used. And I kind of can, take that in different directions based on, if they have health problems and issues like I did, or if they just have, mental health issues that they're trying to work through. And I'm trying to kind of do a little customization with it so that people can go in the direction they need to with how it can help them.
What kind of additional applications do you have in mind besides, of course, the obvious one is health, and particularly lifestyle-related health issues, like you said, with insomnia, which is a horrendous issue for most people, or for many people. But what other key applications do you have in mind?
Yeah, well, I think right now there's such a problem with the fear and the anxiety going on with this pandemic, and just people have really lost their way, and they are kind of in this holding pattern of, what do I do next? And we can't stay in this way. We've got to just move on with our life. And this is one way that you can do that, is by embracing gratitude, visually recognizing all you do have in your life each day. And you can take that and you can take steps forward regardless of what's going on around you, because it's a known fact that adversities are going to come. We don't know when, but we know they're going to hit. And the more you build up your gratitude muscle, I call it, the better
Right.
You're going to be able to respond when those adversities hit, and be able to say, wait a minute, I've got all this going for me, and look back here. I got through this, and that was worse off. I'm going to get through this too, and I'm just going to keep chugging along.
Absolutely. Yeah, I completely agree with that gratitude muscle. From my own experience in developing a sense of calmness in my own life and eliminating anxiety in my own experience, I went through something very similar where, along with some other techniques of relaxation, application of gratitude, as you said, just provides this whole shift. And in my opinion, it's not so much eliminating negativity as much as it is filling the empty void with the positivity, as you mentioned.
Yes,
That's really
absolutely.
yeah. So, do you have groups that you meet with now on this, or is this is kind of in development for the future in kind of a digital format?
Yeah, it's kind of all in my head right now. I'm trying to like get the pieces on paper and figure out like which direction I'm going to go and how I'm going to make this happen. But it's definitely in the future. I'm going to find a way to get this out there.
That's super cool, and yeah, and hopefully we can help support that launch in some way, right? With this cast and in other methods. This is a super supportive solution to generate calmness and also high levels of positivity among folks. If I could just, as a final question for you today, uh, with anybody who's experienced your product or applied the gratitude tree, or anybody you've spoken with in your speaking engagements, or anyone who's read your book, is there a particular story that really got your attention, an unusually good result was achieved through your process?
Yeah, well, I can point to one woman who was scheduled to have surgery for her back pain, and she said, I'm going to just hold off a month. The doctor doesn't recommend it, but I'm going to do that, and I'm going to see what happens. And she still has not had surgery, and this was back in the spring that she was holding off for a month, and she's still not had surgery, and she's definitely going in the right direction. So I was just very, very excited to hear that news, and I hope that her healing keeps continuing and her body keeps getting stronger and better and she does not need surgery at all.
That's super cool. That would be such a great result, because the surgery, although it's useful to have, is super invasive, and the recovery period is so long, right? It's so great that
Oh
essentially
yeah.
her internal healing capabilities, like yours, were activated in this way. Did she follow your entire process, what you have in the book, or just the tree itself, or how did she go about it?
Yeah, she followed the book. So she's been practicing and she's kind of just taking it all in. And just the last I heard, she's been doing great.
That is super awesome. Cool. So I guess I apologize. I'm going to ask one more question.
Oh, no
If
worries.
if there's somebody out there listening to this right now or in the future who's really having it tough, right? They're feeling super overwhelmed, stressed, anxious, depressed, and you had a chance to just say a few words to them. What would you say they should do to move forward?
When you're getting that state of you're just so stressed and you're anxious to the point where you feel like you can't turn it around, that you've got to go back to your breath and just, some deep breaths in and deep breaths out. And I love to visualize, when you're breathing in, you're gathering all the negative and all the things that you want to release, and you're exhaling and releasing those in. And then when you feel like you've released enough, then you breathe in the positivity and the gratitude. And just 5 minutes of doing this is just all it takes. I love to tell people practice in the morning, practice at nighttime, bring the gratitude in and start to see the shifts happen. And if you need to go beyond that, like I said, my book is a great place to start with all the techniques that I've used.
That is super awesome. So I'm definitely going to get a copy of this book. And so just to clarify that, the breathing in is the breathing in of the positivity, right? And then the exhalation
Correct.
is the release of the negativity.
Yes, absolutely.
Super powerful. I've actually experienced a lot of benefits from breath, like what you mentioned. So I totally resonate with that, and would recommend that to anyone. And what's nice is that we're breathing all the time, right? So it's just a matter of taking charge of that just for a few minutes a day. It's all built in, nothing additional required.
Yeah, and I love to tell people that say I don't have time. Like, well, you have time to use the bathroom. Build it into that bathroom break, and just take 2 more extra minutes and do some breathing, and then go out and get yourself in a different mental state.
Exactly. And in my case, with stress, I find that just processing stress mentally takes so much time, right? And usually the individual is completely immobilized during that time period. So simply recovering some of that stressed out time, right, and converting it to this breath technique or other techniques that I'm sure you have in your book, completely awesome. And it's all available time. It's being wasted anyway, right?
Yeah, and stress is the worst thing. Everybody knows it, but we need to actually physically do something about it. And doing the breathing techniques will actually take you from the flight or flight state over to the calm, relaxed state very quickly. So it's just another thing to remember, that you need to get out of that stressful state.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's the first part of it, right? Is to be aware that you're under stress and to be aware there's a solution that's immediately available right in that moment to create a shift virtually instantly. That's huge.
Yes.
Awesome. Well, Jennifer, I really appreciate all of the valuable advice that you've shared with the audience today. I did want to put a banner up with your information for folks that might want to reach out to you for further support, and especially given that you're launching a course, I would like folks to be able to find their way to that. So we've got Jennifer Garman at thegratitudemission@gmail.com. So that's all one word, thegratitudemission@gmail.com.
Thank you
Jennifer,
so much.
thank you. It was such a pleasure to have you on Center of Calmness today.
It was great to be here. I'm so glad I got to share my story and what I've been able to do. I hope people can find gratitude and bring it into their lives.
Absolutely. Perhaps the most powerful element to bring us closer to the center of calmness. Thanks again, Jennifer. And
Thank
I'm
you.